There are people who don't sleep peacefully, not because the world is loud, but because their mind never stops listening. They notice everything: the change in someone's tone, the fake smile hidden behind kindness, the message that says, "I'm fine," while secretly screaming something else. And the strangest part? Most people admire them for it. You're so intelligent. You understand people deeply. You can read energy. But what nobody sees is the silent damage happening inside them. Because when a person becomes too mentally aware of everything, life stops feeling natural. Conversations become investigations. Relationships become psychological puzzles. Even happiness starts feeling suspicious. And slowly, their own mind becomes the place they can no longer escape from. Tonight, we are not talking about intelligence. We are talking about the terrifying psychology of people whose minds became too conscious for their own peace. The people who cannot stop observing, cannot stop analyzing, cannot stop thinking. And the scary truth is, most of them don't even realize their awareness is slowly destroying their ability to live. There is a dangerous moment in psychology, a moment where awareness stops helping you and starts controlling you. At first, it feels powerful. You can predict people, sense lies quickly, understand emotions others miss. You walk into a room and instantly feel tension. You can hear insecurity hiding inside confidence. You can feel emotional distance before a relationship even breaks. It feels like wisdom. But over time, your brain stops seeing life normally. Instead of experiencing moments, you start monitoring them. And this changes everything. Imagine sitting with friends at dinner. Everyone else is laughing naturally, but your mind, it is working in the background like a surveillance machine. Why did he suddenly go quiet? Was that joke secretly directed at me? Why did her smile disappear for 1 second? Something feels off. Your body is physically present, but mentally you are somewhere else entirely. Inside analysis, inside prediction, inside psychological scanning. And the exhausting part is, you don't know how to stop. Because your mind believes awareness keeps you safe. Most overly aware people were not born peaceful. They were trained by life to observe danger. Psychology calls this hypervigilance. And usually, it begins in emotionally unstable environments. A child growing up around unpredictable emotions learns something very early. Pay attention, or get hurt, so the brain adapts. The child studies moods, facial expressions, footsteps, voice tones. They become emotional detectives before they even understand childhood. Some children learn to recognize anger just from the way a door closed. Some learned silence was more dangerous than shouting. Some learned love could disappear suddenly, without warning. And because the nervous system wants survival above everything else, the brain becomes permanently alert. Even years later, as adults, their body still acts like danger is nearby. This is why some people cannot relax even in peaceful environments. Their mind became addicted to scanning, not because they are weak, but because their nervous system was trained to believe, if I stop paying attention, something bad will happen. Here is the part nobody talks about. Overthinking is not always accidental. Sometimes, it becomes an emotional addiction, because thinking creates the illusion of control. The overly aware person believes, if I analyze everything deeply enough, I can prevent pain. So their brain starts running simulations constantly. What if this relationship fails? What if they secretly dislike me? What if I embarrass myself? What if something goes wrong tomorrow? Their mind keeps preparing for disasters that haven't even happened. And strangely, this mental suffering starts feeling productive because the brain confuses worrying with protecting. But in reality, nothing is being solved. The person is simply living future pain in advance, again and again. This is why highly aware people often look calm outside, while internally feeling exhausted all the time. Their brain never truly rests. Even during happy moments, part of them is still searching for hidden danger, and eventually, they stop trusting peace itself because chaos became familiar. Most people think self-awareness automatically leads to growth. Not always. Too much self-awareness can slowly become self-obsession. The person starts monitoring themselves constantly, not just their actions, their emotions too. They don't simply feel sadness, they analyze it. Why am I sad? Does this make sense? What's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? Even joy becomes uncomfortable. They laugh at a party, then immediately replay how they looked while laughing. They speak during a conversation, then spend hours analyzing whether they sounded awkward. Their mind turns into a mirror they can never walk away from, and this creates something dangerous. They lose spontaneity. Life stops flowing naturally. Everything becomes performance, evaluation, correction. The terrifying part? From the outside, they may look intelligent and emotionally mature, but internally, they are fighting a silent war against their own thoughts every single day. The deeper a person sees, the harder it becomes for them to love peacefully. Because relationships require something awareness struggles to give, trust without complete certainty. An overly aware person notices contradictions immediately. They hear hesitation inside affection. They notice emotional distance before words change. They can feel when someone's energy becomes colder, even slightly. At first, this seems useful, but eventually it creates emotional exhaustion because instead of experiencing love naturally, their mind starts investigating it. A simple, delayed reply becomes a psychological mystery. Why did they suddenly text differently? Why are they less expressive today? Did their feelings change? Am I being slowly replaced? And the worst part is, sometimes their observations are actually correct. That is what makes this pattern dangerous. Their intuition is often strong enough to occasionally predict emotional shifts before they happen. So the brain learns, see, overthinking protects you. But what the mind does not realize is this: even when danger is real, constant emotional surveillance destroys intimacy, because love cannot breathe under endless analysis. Eventually, the overly aware person becomes trapped between two fears: the fear of being hurt and the fear of never fully relaxing enough to feel connected. People often think highly aware individuals are emotionally strong. In reality, many of them are emotionally overloaded because they absorb everything. Someone enters the room frustrated, and suddenly their own mood changes. A friend shares sadness, and they carry that emotional weight for days. A stranger speaks with insecurity, and they immediately feel responsible for comforting them. This happens because overly aware people are not just observing emotions, they are internally experiencing them. Their nervous system acts like a sponge, and over time, this creates a hidden psychological problem. They become emotional caretakers for everyone else, while quietly abandoning themselves. They know how to calm others, how to understand others, how to emotionally support others. But when they themselves feel overwhelmed, they often stay silent, because deep down they fear becoming a burden. So they keep carrying emotional weight privately, and eventually, they become exhausted in ways sleep cannot fix. Not physical exhaustion, emotional exhaustion. The kind that comes from feeling too much for too long. There is a painful loneliness that comes with seeing too deeply into people, because once someone becomes highly aware, surface-level interactions stop satisfying them. Small talk feels empty. Fake enthusiasm feels exhausting. Forced social behavior becomes painfully obvious. They begin craving depth everywhere. Real conversations, real emotions, real honesty. But modern life rarely operates that way. Most people hide behind social masks, and the overly aware person notices it immediately, so they start feeling disconnected from the world around them. Not because they hate people, but because they struggle to feel psychologically understood. Sometimes they sit in a crowded room, while internally feeling completely alone, because nobody sees how loud their mind actually is. Nobody sees the emotional calculations happening behind their silence, and eventually, they stop explaining themselves altogether. They smile. They function normally, they appear calm, but internally, they feel like outsiders observing humanity instead of participating in it. This is why many highly aware people secretly feel exhausted after social interaction. Not because they dislike humans, but because their brain processes too much information at once. Every tone, every emotion, every hidden tension. It all enters their nervous system simultaneously. And eventually, solitude starts feeling safer than connection. The human brain was never designed to constantly monitor everything, but overly aware people try anyway, and eventually, the nervous system begins collapsing under the pressure. This is where awareness transforms into anxiety. At first, the signs are subtle: restlessness, difficulty relaxing, trouble sleeping, constant mental noise. Then the body joins the fight. A fast heartbeat feels dangerous. Chest tension feels alarming. A small change in mood feels catastrophic. The brain becomes hypersensitive to every internal sensation. Psychology calls this catastrophic interpretation. The mind misreads ordinary experiences as threats, And because the brain believes danger is present, the body activates stress responses. More adrenaline, more cortisol, more tension. Then the overly aware person notices those sensations, which creates even more anxiety. A loop begins. The mind watches the body reacts to the mind, and both start feeding each other endlessly. This is why many highly aware people secretly feel tired all the time. Their nervous system is permanently running in survival mode, even during peaceful moments. But the scariest part of all this is not anxiety. It is disconnection from the present moment. Because while overly aware people are busy analyzing life, life quietly passes by. A beautiful sunset appears, but they are trapped inside thought. Someone genuinely loves them, but they are busy searching for hidden motives. A peaceful moment finally arrives, but their brain still refuses to stop scanning for danger. And slowly, they stop living directly. They start living mentally, inside predictions, inside analysis, inside imaginary futures. This is why many deeply aware people feel emotionally exhausted, even when nothing bad happened. Their suffering is internal, invisible, continuous, and eventually they reach a painful realization. I understand life deeply, but I no longer know how to peacefully experience it. So what is the solution? Should overly aware people become less intelligent, less observant, less emotionally deep? No. The goal is not blindness. The goal is boundaries, because mature awareness understands something powerful. Not everything requires your emotional energy. Not every silence is rejection. Not every mood shift is your responsibility. Not every uncomfortable feeling needs immediate analysis. Real healing begins when awareness stops trying to control life and starts learning how to coexist with uncertainty. Because peace is not found through complete understanding. Peace comes from accepting that not everything can be fully understood, and this changes everything. The overly aware person finally stops carrying the emotional weight of the entire world. They still notice deeply, but they no longer absorb everything. They still understand human behavior, but they stop turning every interaction into psychological warfare inside their own head. And slowly, their mind becomes quieter, not empty, just softer. They stop using awareness like a weapon against themselves, and instead, they begin using it as wisdom. Maybe that is the final lesson. The purpose of awareness was never to protect you from every possible pain. It was meant to help you experience life more consciously, not fearfully, because the deepest people are not the ones who analyze every emotion endlessly. The deepest people are the ones who learn when to finally let go. If this video felt personal, if you saw parts of yourself hidden somewhere inside these words, then maybe your awareness was never the enemy. Maybe it simply needed compassion. Comment below. What part of this video hit you the hardest? And if this video gave language to feelings you could never explain before. Subscribe to Realities Hub for more deep psychological realities about human behavior, emotions, and the hidden patterns controlling modern life. Because sometimes, understanding yourself changes everything.